Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone. Welcome into your number one source for Native American television news. It's Native News Today. I'm Jason Salzman, your host, here in the Mvskoke Media Studios. As we are prepared for this week's episode, got lots of things to get into, specifically as election season heats up here at Mvskoke Creek Nation. We've got a great series of video profiles coming your way in the coming weeks as you get to know your candidates for national council seats in the legislative body of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. Get to know them a little bit better, and we wanted to make a way for you all to do that at home and our viewing audience. So you will be getting a round of candidate profiles each week here in the next few weeks on Native News Today, and we're excited about that. Also, we're going to introduce you to the 2017-18 Miss Mvskoke Creek Nation, Amberly Proctor, as we got to sit down with that young lady as she gets ready to start her reign as Creek royalty. All of that and more. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the program as we get started with this week's show. And as we said in the opener, we're going to be introducing you to a lot of people in the coming weeks. But specifically, we're starting off the program today introducing you to our new Miss Mvskoke Creek Nation. If you know a little bit about the Mvskoke Creek Nation, you probably know about the pageant. But for the folks out there that don't know anything about our annual pageant, young ladies around high school age get a chance to vie for the crown, the sash, and not only is it a title, but there is cultural learning that takes place, workshops, travel for these young ladies, and a scholarship. So it really does change their life in a major way, as well as being able to be an ambassador for the Mvskoke Creek Nation. These girls go all over. They learn so much through this year, and we're so excited to be able to sit down and show you an interview we had with the newest Miss Mvskoke Creek Nation, Miss Amberly Proctor.
First of all, the pageant was an amazing experience. I first ran 2 years ago and got runner-up, so I'd had a little bit of experience, so this past year I kind of knew what to expect, but I was still really nervous. But it was just really good to make these friendships with the girls, the other contestants, so that was a really positive experience for me. You know, we were all very supportive and encouraging of each other, and you know, we were all nervous, we were all in the same boat, so we were just constantly trying to help each other out. You know, and then we had, of course, the pageant committee. They were awesome. They were helping us. They were doing everything they could for us, you know, making sure that we had everything that we needed to participate in the pageant. And then taking myself back to when they called my name, I had butterflies in my stomach, so I was just kind of sitting there, time kind of slowed down a little bit, and then they called, and I heard my name, and then it was kind of surreal. Like I was in a shock for a while after it, but it was just a really good experience. 2 years ago, I recited Wilbur Chwangauja's Struggle to Survive, and this past year I sang a traditional Mvskoke hymn, Holwan Hitchkayovan. I grew up going to a traditional Creek Baptist church, so hymns are really close to me, and that's what I have been exposed to, and so that's what I wanted to sing one of my favorite hymns, and that's what I chose to do this past year. Well, that was what originally inspired me to run. My brother was studying for the Challenge Bowl, and he had a study guide pulled up, so I was just glancing through it, and I happened to see that letter, and so I read through it. And I had read it before when I was younger studying for the Challenge Bowl, but reading it now being older, it just hit me in my heart, and I just thought, man, I got to do something, because it was a call for the Mvskoke women to rise up and be role models for the next generation. You know, we are the keepers of a tradition and the culture, and so when I read that, it was just kind of an eye-opener for me. I thought I'd never really considered running for princess before. I bet I've had people tell me, but I was just always like, no, that's not for me. But when I read that, that was the first thing that popped into my mind was, I need to do this. So that is what led me to then turn that into my cultural presentation for the pageant, was to recite that. I thought this is what inspired me to run in the first place. If this can inspire somebody else to do something, you know, while they're here at the pageant, then I would love to be able to share that with them, for those that may not know this letter's out there. So that's what inspired me to run originally. Like I said, I grew up in that church since I was a little girl, so that being in that is what really started it all. You know, we have fluent speakers there. We sing, you know, the hymns in our language. So that is what has been unique about that experience. Is yes, it's a Baptist church, but it's a Creek Baptist church. So that has kept me close to the culture in that respect. And then, you know, my dad has taught me, because I'm Creek through my dad, and so he incorporates teaching. You know, he would help me study for the Challenge Bowl. So it was he that really instilled a lot of that culture in my siblings. So not just in the church, but like I said, with the Challenge Bowl, you know, going through the study guide, the language, that is how, you know, I learned to read Creek and to learn to speak it. You know, I'm not fluent, obviously. I hope to be someday, but, you know, just really growing up with him being such a big influence in my life with the culture, and that's how I've been able to stay so rooted in it. And, you know, I'm from Hannah. It's a really small town. So I'm around my family. So that has really helped me to stay just in touch with my culture. And then, of course, going to the church, learning the traditions of the church, that has helped me to just keep in touch with that. I recently graduated from Oklahoma Baptist University with a degree in accounting, and that's actually from my mom's side. She's an accountant, graduated from there with the same degree, so that is what led me to pursue that degree. But I've also interned here at Creek Nation in the finance department, so I've always had a desire to come back at some point, you know, whether that be right away or a little bit later on in my life. I have a desire to come back and work, you know, for my tribe. And now I'm going to be pursuing a master's degree at OU. It's a Master of Legal Studies in Indigenous Peoples Law. So that's always interested me, the law has, and that degree is good. It's for non-lawyers, but it's to have that knowledge of Indian law, and so that's always interested me. And they say it's good for people who want to work in tribal government. So I thought, well, to have, you know, the knowledge of, you know, accounting and finance, and then, you know, Indian law, I hope to someday combine the two and even serve on the National Council, because my dad, he's right now, he's in the middle of his third term as a National Council member. So I grew up around tribal government, and so I kind of want to follow in his footsteps. So I'm thinking that would be good to have a background in money, you know, budgeting, finance, accounting, and law, and to be able to combine that to serve on the council. So I think that would be that's kind of my plan someday. I don't necessarily know, can't off the top of my head, about any challenges. I know a personal challenge myself, that a mental challenge I had to get over was being light-skinned. That was one of the reasons why I had never ran before. It was my own inherent bias, I guess, against myself, was thinking, you know, I'm not dark enough, you know, I don't look Indian enough. You know, I'm half and half, but I did take my mom's light skin. That's what I inherited. And so that was for me, that was my biggest challenge to even get into running, was that. And now that I've overcome that, I don't really foresee any challenges. So I'm sure they'll come up. So ask me in a couple months, I might be able to answer. But as of right now, things have been really great. It's been a really good transition from normal life, so to speak, to being a princess. So I'm sure there will be challenges along the way, but I look forward to meeting those head on. So. I have heard from people before that say when you go back, you can just feel your ancestors there. They say you just get this feeling like you're home. They say you just feel at peace, you just feel like you belong there. So I'm really looking forward to just feeling that sense of comfort, that sense of belonging. I'm really excited to go there. It's a lifelong dream of mine to go back to the homeland. So that is one of the things I'm most looking forward to, is just that sense of like, this is where I come from. This is, you know, this isn't foreign territory, so to speak. This is, you know, this is my land. So I'm really looking forward to experiencing that and just being able to meet people down there and just representing the Mvskoke Creek Nation.
And I want to thank Amberly Proctor there and wish her the best in her reign as Miss Mvskoke Creek Nation. A lot of bright things ahead for that young lady. Speaking of things ahead for us here at Mvskoke Media and Mvskoke Creek Nation, big things happening in the next few months as we race towards Election Day. And that will be coming up later in November, the primaries in September. With that being said, we wanted to introduce you to candidates in a neat way on our show and on the internet, and that would be through video profiles. We've taken a list of questions compiled from input that citizens have given on social media, meaning these are topics that are pertinent and that they want to know about. So we compiled a list of questions from citizens on social media to give to our candidates, and it's a list of 5 questions to each candidate. They all get the same question, and we're starting this week with the Mvskoke District candidates for Seat B.
Well, you know, I give it some thought on this, and I've asked people in my district of what they thought, and they didn't think we needed to drop the blood quantum. But I do think it's going to happen sometime, and it's going to be a sad day when that happens, because when that happens, I believe there'll be no more songs sung in church, no more creek songs sung in church. We'll have no Mikos or ceremonial grounds, and I hope we never get to that point. But when that happens, then the blood quantum will be dropped. But until then, well, as long as we hold strong to what we do, I think that there's no need to drop the blood quantum.
As far as blood quantum requirement to hold public office, I think that's really up to the citizens to say this is what they want. And if that's what the citizens want, then I think that's what the nation should look at and go forward with it.
That's a tough issue right there. There is a lot of concern, and we have been hearing a lot of concerns on that. But to me, in order to do that, there has to be another constitutional convention for that, and I think that should be up to the people's decision.
I feel like the blood quantum requirement is a option of the people. If that's what the majority of the people want to see happen, I feel like that once it's voted on and confirmed, then that blood quantum issue should be decided by the people.
I believe that the Mvskoke Creek Nation should not reduce the blood quantum requirement for holding office.
Same-sex marriage. I was always taught that a marriage is between a man and a wife, but I also see changes coming. And I don't, right now the Mvskoke Creek Nation is holding true to not recognizing that, but I do feel like that in the near future, but it's not going to happen right now. And before I could really say what my opinion is, I'm going to have to talk to the citizens to get an overall view of how they see it and go with their opinion before I could really decide on this. But I haven't asked a whole lot of people about this yet. But until I do, I can't really say that I'm for it or against it, because I'll have to do what my constituents want.
I really don't have a I guess, opinion whether it should be legalized or recognized. Certainly I thought that we already had done that, and it's just not an issue, but that is something that I think we really need to look at, and if we don't have the laws, then we need to make them.
That's another one, and I know one of these days it's going to come down to our tribe. It's working its way down, and to me it's whatever makes them happy. I'm not one to discriminate.
The issue of the same-sex marriage is a political spotlight throughout the world. Each individual has its own impression, its biblical thoughts, its concerns of those individuals that decide to pursue that. If the nation and the people decide that is something they want to recognize, then I feel like that it then again has to be the same majority of the people to accept the same-sex marriage.
I believe that marriage is one man to one woman.
I remember as a kid we did a per cap payment, and I think my payment was just a little less over 100. But as big as the tribe is, we're 80,000 members plus, and to do a per cap payment would be a one-time payment, which would be not very much for anybody. But as long as we keep our funds going where they can draw interest, that would better the tribe more. So I don't think a per cap payment is the best interest of the tribe, although I know citizens would like to have it, but it's something that's a difficult question to answer right now, but I don't believe I'd be in favor of per cap payments.
As far as establishing per capita payments to the citizens, I, for one, say right at this time it should be looked at. However, we need to be looking at what is happening at the federal level with the Department of Interior. Apparently, we have people who represent the American Indian population who does not really support funding tribal governments, and we are going to have to do that on our own. But I see that as a sovereign nation, there are a lot of things that we could be doing that we're not doing. So I'd say, yes, we need to be looking at that in the future for sure.
That also is another tough question too. That's been raising a lot of concern. And again, I think that itself needs to be for another constitutional convention, and that should be up to the people on the vote for that as well.
Per capita has been discussed many times throughout the years of our tribe. There's many elements we have to consider as far as the main issue would be our population as a tribe. Is it economically possible for us to do per capita payments to our citizens? Factors, different studies need to be initiated before I feel that any person can say we can do per cap. That is something that if it's economical possible, then I feel like that if we can pursue it and it's feasible, then it's something we could look at. However, you know, funding comes into play every year with government regulations, tribal money, different aspects of what the tribe wants to pursue and do as far as establishing different services, different federal regulatory issues with the money we receive. And, you know, if we have a number of things on the books that the tribe sees we need to do, then, you know, per cap is going to hinder that process as well. So there's many factors and elements that we need to look at before we can say we can do per cap.
I would like to see per capita payments to citizens. I think we need to make sure that it goes to the proper, I guess you would say, services for them, whether it's education, social services. I think in some case, if you give people basically a check, it may be like handing a hand grenade to a child. I've heard that people will misuse the fundings, but I do believe that we need to help our people financially, and I think we need to make sure that we do have adequate funding for our programs to help our tribal citizens. And I think a per capita payment is a good idea. It just depends on how it's distributed.
I will use every means available to meet with my constituents. Social media, yes. The press, yes. Community meetings, yes. As a former council representative, I attended all the committee meetings in my district every month. I was informed, the people told me what they thought, and I also had a lunch with the elders at the nutrition center there in Okemah. So as a council representative, I will be in touch with the citizens. And I also attend every, try to not to attend every meeting, but most of the meetings on the youth council, because they're important. The youth are important, the elders are important, and just citizens in general are all important. And that's important as a council rep to meet with the constituents and get their ideas and to try to represent them the best way possible.
I will be using the social media, the press, community meetings. I'm already out there, I guess as far as you can see. One of the things that I want to do is, I'm saying, make it about the people, because we see things that says it's about the people, but I remember a long time ago, back in the 70s and 80s, we really had to work as American Indian people to do lots of things, and look how far we've come. But with the Bureau of Indian Affairs running us and telling us what to do, we had to turn around and say what we want and what we need. And so it's been a while to me for us to say our citizens are the ones that push this along, and we haven't been listening to them. So one of the things that I'm doing is going out into the communities with a survey or a questionnaire, if you will, to find out, because I know what I think. I need to know what the people think.
I'll use whatever I can to reach out to my citizens, constituents, telephone, social media, mostly by telephone, Facebook. Use any resource that I can to reach out to my citizens.
I think that communicating with our citizens, tribal participation is something we need to do better, not just as council members or administration, but overall. The things that people utilize now as far as social media, Facebook, different things of that nature, some of our citizens aren't quite adequate to doing those things. Community meetings are a good way and source of getting more involvement, face-to-face communication, and that's the things that some of the things have lacked. I believe that we have to, as citizens of our communities, to attend those meetings so we have tribal participation.
Well, I plan on communicating with my constituents mainly through social media. I plan on having my phone number out there, which is the most convenient way for me. I think maybe the most convenient way for a lot of people is just to call me. As a representative, I would like to have an office established within my district where people can come and see me personally, and if they want to sit down and talk to me face to face, they can do that. But I think social media is a good way of communicating with people who are who can't get to you for whatever reason, whether it's distance or whatever. And I think it's important to make an effort to make it to the community meetings. But I think primarily it'll be through social media, phone calls, and through my email I think it's important to reach people out there and hear their opinions, because I think a lot of good ideas come from other people in the community, and I think you should listen to those because they do have good ideas. And so primarily I think I'm going to look at having my phone number out there, really, because that's the best way I usually communicate with people, the most convenient way at least. And so it'll be through social media and my phone, and as well as my email.
My affiliation, I'm a registered Democrat, and I try not to go along party lines all the time, because I feel like you want to vote for the best person available at that position. Now, and that's my stance on it. I know sometimes I even vote independent on some elections. I voted Republicans on some, and I voted Democrats on some. So even though I'm a registered Democrat, I don't always follow my party lines.
Political party for Democratic. As a Democrat, I've been involved with making sure that people know about voting, especially in the last election. So I haven't really gotten on any boards or any committees, but I am involved with as many organizations on the local level as I have time for, with the communities, with the county, as well as with the state.
I am currently sitting on the Mvskoke District Seat B right now, and just trying to do the best to my ability to do what I can to help any which way possible.
I've been a registered voter ever since I turned 18. I did file as a Democrat. I voted every year there's been an election, whether it be federal or tribal or city elections, county elections. I feel like it's important for our individuals, ourselves, to be involved in those type of decisions. That is how one way your voice is heard, by electing your officials.
Well, I'm Republican. I support the Republican Party platform. And so I get involved with the local, I guess you would say, Republican Party. We do have meetings there off and on in the Okemah area. I have been to some of their meetings and enjoyed the information they give out. So by and large, I would be considered, I think, a conservative. And so I think that's pretty much it.
All right, that'll do it for this week's episode. We certainly hope that you enjoyed getting to know your Miss Mvskoke Creek Nation, as well as your Mvskoke District candidates for National Council. Stay with us in the coming weeks. We're going to keep going with the video profiles of your National Council candidates, and you can follow us all and everything we're doing on MvskokeMedia.com. Everybody out there, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.